How do we get employees to share what they know? That's today's LearnGeek Big Question. Hi, I'm JD from LearnGeek and Exonify. I curate questions from across the global L&D community, and then I dig into one big question each week here on my LearnGeek YouTube channel. This week, we're talking about knowledge sharing. Specifically, the question is, how do we get employees to share their knowledge? Now, this question popped up during my keynote session at the ATD Korea Summit in Seoul a few weeks ago. Side tangent. Traveling to South Korea to share my perspective on learning strategy and AI-enabled transformation within L&D was an amazing experience. So I wanted to thank the Association for Talent Development, ATD, and Fast Campus for hosting me at the event. And if you want to check out more information on the story that I shared in Seoul, be sure to check out the slide deck available in English and Korean via the link in the description. But first, back to the question at hand. Now, there's no denying the fact that the best information in your organization, the stuff that really makes a difference to how the job gets done, is locked in the heads of your employees. Now, of course, your company has lots of SOPs that, explain how work is supposed to get done. And then, of course, you've got SharePoint sites and Microsoft Teams channels and Google Drive folders and just tons of stuff spread out all over the place. But how much of that stuff reflects the everyday reality of your workplace? Your SOPs may explain how processes are supposed to be executed, but how well do they cover the edge cases? The unexpected problems that pop up all the time on the front line, the ones that your most experienced people know how to handle with their eyes closed. Metaphorically speaking. Now, in my experience, most organizations are downright bad at capturing the knowledge of their workplace. We fail to make this a priority, and then we struggle to fill the gaps when people inevitably leave. And this gets even more troublesome when you experience large-scale retirements and the people who have built their knowledge over 20 or 30 years with the organization are just not there anymore to be relied upon. Now, I know what you're thinking. Can't AI just take care of this whole situation for us? After all, if you've got a wicked smart digital assistant available in your pocket all the time, you don't have to rely on those experienced peers to help you solve problems. No, AI is not going to fix this. It can certainly help, and it's going to help facilitate the sharing process. But AI doesn't know what AI doesn't know. It can't just make up how your workplace works. It needs that locked away knowledge to fuel its problem-solving capabilities. I want you to imagine for a moment, if your company had an amazing digital assistant, just the best LLM technology has to offer, and then you attach that digital assistant to your existing knowledge base. Maybe it's Google Drive, maybe it's SharePoint, maybe it's Slack. How good a job do you think that amazing technology would do? Would it be able to find the most up-to-date information, the most reliable knowledge, practical answers to those workplace questions? Or would it regurgitate outdated information from all of the old slide decks from 2007 that your company still has laying around? Now, if we want to take full advantage of this upcoming digital evolution of work, we first need to address our knowledge sharing challenges. We need to understand why people don't share at work and then overcome these hurdles to help people connect. Because we want to connect those who need with those who know. That's knowledge sharing at work. So first we have to ask the question, why don't people share? There's no one answer to that question, because in some cases it comes down to the fact that knowledge really is power. The more you know, the more opportunity you can get for yourself at work. And then in some cases, you just don't have the chance. You don't have an opportunity to share what you know. Maybe your manager asks you to put together a quick presentation that you're going to share at a lunch and learn about how you tackled a recent challenge with your team. But that useful knowledge, that tidbit of valuable information, often never makes it beyond that particular moment in time when it's shared. And then there's the biggest reason that people don't share their knowledge at work. Why should they? Honestly, what's in it for me? Why should I take the time and make the effort to capture what I know and then gift that wisdom to the organization, especially when I'm already overworked and burned out. It's one thing to ask me to help out a peer, someone I work alongside every day, someone that I might actually care about as a person. It's another thing to ask me to contribute to this big, faceless entity that is my company without a real understanding of what value I'm getting back. We need to come at the concept of knowledge sharing in a frank and practical way and forget the assumptions that, people love to share. Social media exists. The truth is, no one likes their job as much as they like fantasy football. So of course people are going to spend hours talking about that kind of stuff on Reddit every day. Not true at work. Instead, I apply what I call the give 'em strategy. 3 key principles for facilitating workplace knowledge sharing. First, give 'em. We need to give them a reason. There will always be a few go-getters in your organization that openly share their insights and experiences with their teams. But that's not enough to power a true knowledge sharing process. And then on the flip side, frankly, you don't want everyone sharing everything they know about their jobs. Imagine if everyone on Earth had a blog. No. You'd never be able to find the good stuff, the useful stuff, the meaningful stuff amongst all of that noise. It's already too difficult. Not everyone has a blog or a TikTok channel. So instead, we need to find the right people within the organization. And sometimes that means certain roles. Sometimes it just means certain people. And we need to make sharing part of the job, not a nice to have, not a recommended practice, part of the job. That means dedicated time and specific expectations around capturing and sharing what these people know. Because the best reason that you can provide for someone to do something at work is that it's part of the job, and you can support it that way. Second, we need to give them a chance. Now, how can people share what they know in the workplace? Think about your organization. How would you expect people to share? More specifically, how can they share what they know in a way that's not super complicated and incredibly annoying? The answer to this question depends on your workplace, the type of work that people do, the tools they use to do that work, and the type of information that you want people to share. Because working in a corporate office is meaningfully different than working in a grocery store. So each environment needs a right fit sharing process. And this includes the right technology, as well as the right types of content, different types of content formats that make sense for people to use to capture their knowledge. So I want to give you an example. I previously worked in learning and development in a contact center environment. And I wanted agents in the contact center to share their insights, and specifically about overcoming common customer challenges. The stuff that's not necessarily captured in the SOP or in the e-learning module. But these employees, they only had minutes, literally minutes, available in their day-to-day, in between phone calls. Because rule number 1 of a contact center, don't take people off the phone. So these folks weren't going to find time to, write a robust knowledge article or build a slide deck to share what they know. I needed to find a right way to help them share. That was my job, to help facilitate their opportunity. So what I did in this specific case was I curated a list of the top challenges that agents were running into on the phones. Specifically, the types of topics where I had a really hard time getting subject matter experts or managers to define the right way. Right? There wasn't an SOP for this stuff. There wasn't a right way. People were finding different ways to solve these particular problems, but not everyone knew how. So I had the list. And then I went looking for the go-to people on those particular subjects. The ones that their peers trusted, that the people that they asked for help. And it wasn't the employees that the managers recommended, because I didn't want people's favorite employees. I didn't even necessarily want people with the best metrics. I wanted the people that other contact center agents trusted to ask for help. People with street cred, let's call them. And then I brought these folks into my office in the contact center. I sat them in front of a webcam, and then I asked them a series of specific questions about how they overcame a particular challenge. And I recorded them, just talking straight to the camera about what they did. Minute and a half type clips, very specific questions about how they dealt with these situations regularly on the job. Then I took these short videos and I uploaded them by topic as playlists that look a lot like YouTube playlists, but I put them in my knowledge base. And then I shared them across the contact center as a performance support tool for common advisor challenges. And this is what allowed me to share multiple ways to approach an issue in a very practical method, things that people were actually doing, not what L&D was telling people to do, what their peers were really doing, peers that they already trusted, instead of trying to find one way to handle what were really complex situations. So regardless of the technology or the format or the channels that you use, it needs to be simple, something that doesn't require excessive amount of effort on behalf of the employee who already has way too much to do on the job every day. And another big part of that simplicity is making sure that you help them draw clear lines so that people know which topics are open for sharing and which topics require a more structured process. And that includes things like legal review and approval before information gets shared more broadly. Because every workplace has that line, the topics that are open for conversation and the topics that require a process, because it's sensitive, it's complicated, it's regulated types of information. And I know that most companies get itchy when you give people a save button. But the truth of the matter is, in a world of email and Slack and WhatsApp, people are already talking. They're already sharing. We just can't see it. And more importantly, we can't correct it. So when you attach people's names and faces to the information they share at work, they're much less likely to put themselves and the company at risk. But you need to be clear on the rules so people know what's okay and what's not okay when it comes to this type of workplace sharing. And then third, we need to give them the cred, because knowledge doesn't just equal power at work. It equals credibility. You are what you know. I know how to do some kind of creative and silly stuff in PowerPoint. It's something I picked up back in high school. And that knowledge has actually helped me get promoted multiple times during my career. So if we want people to give away that kind of value, the value they get from having that knowledge, and not feel like they're losing something, we need to reward them. But that reward can't be something that is gimmicky. Sharing has to come with credibility. It needs to mean something to the sharer as well as to the rest of the organization, especially within a person's peer group. So let's go back to that contact center example. So I had done the video thing to help people share in one particular mode, but I needed more to fill out my knowledge sharing processes. I wanted more people's help when it came to crowdsourcing answers to popular questions, but in a more real-time format, not something I could produce as a kind of perpetual knowledge asset like I did with the videos. I wanted something that was going to help people in real time answer questions as they came up in the flow of work. So as part of my knowledge sharing strategy, I launched a program that I called Cred. It was basically a gamification overlay to knowledge sharing, and we leveraged familiar gamification mechanics, things like points and badges, that helped facilitate certain types of sharing. So as an example, if you responded to a question in the knowledge base, you got a certain number of points. If your comment got upvoted a certain amount, you got more points. And what we were sure to do was architect the system. So first of all, it was hard to game. You couldn't just throw points around. And second of all, it rewarded specific types of knowledge sharing behaviors that we were looking for. But we didn't stop there, because not everyone cares about points. We wanted to make sure game mechanics like points, accumulated effort that comes with those points, that it meant something. So we looked for ways to elevate people with cred. And the more cred you earned, you actually got more permissions in the knowledge base. So people with advanced cred were trusted to write entire knowledge articles where not everyone had that permission set. Because again, we don't want everyone to have a blog. We want the right people to be able to share in the right places. And then we attached badges to people's profiles based on their cred, because it helped them earn trust across the organization. Because in a lot of cases, you might ask a question in a Teams channel or in a knowledge base, and you get an answer, but can you trust the answer? Especially if you don't know the person, right? How do you attach credibility to the conversation? Well, we used this system to attach cred so that people knew who they could look to, who they could trust, who was going to deliver the great information. And we highlighted those people actually in something we called the Cred Club, where we had the best sharers across the organization. So ultimately, we helped sharing mean something. And it wasn't just something that L&D wanted people to do. It wasn't just limited to people that managers liked, because that's where this tends to go in a lot of cases. It was a chance to be heard, to do more. And that visibility, that added trust through credibility, it actually helped people find new opportunities because it became very clear that these people knew how to do the job better than anyone else in a lot of cases. So it's give them a reason, give them a chance, give them the cred. That's the give them approach to workplace knowledge sharing and my LearnGeek big question for this week. So if you have a question of any size that you'd like me to explore, be sure to connect with me on LinkedIn or contact me via my website. That's learngeek.co. And until next time, thanks for everything that you do and be well. Bye now.